Welcome to Talking in Stations. This is Matterall on June 25th. I'm here with Kenneth Feld.
Good evening.
With Abby Rova.
Hey, Friday night. It's Friday night. Ronald's not here.
Yeah, it's usually him. And Shen is here with us too.
Hello.
All right. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the MER with Kenneth Feld. We'll also go into a little bit of news. Why don't we take care of that kind of stuff first? I think the top story is, Shen.
So we have a new deal right now in the Eve store. It's 50% off 3 months of Omega plus 3 months of multiple character training certificate. So this deal comes out every quarter. It came out at the beginning of the year. It came out quarter way through, and it can come out right now. Or probably expecting another one, like maybe 3 months down the line, stuff like that. So it's pretty standard.
Yeah,
Right.
they've been doing it consistently now for a good while, actually. Maybe 2 years, 3 years or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I think Falcon was there when it first started.
It's a great deal. I'm loving it, and it's it's 3 months of Omega and 3 months of multiple character training, but you can like split that, so it's great. You can get like 2 more characters, and you can spend 6 weeks on each guy training them into like PI alts or industry alts, and you can get like two semi decent characters on a Omega account.
All right, so 50% off 3 Omega and 3 multi-character training certificates, I think they are. That's 3 months of Omega. Okay.
Yeah, right. It's 3 months of both. So you get 3 months with 2 pilots training. So it's basically 12 weeks of 2 pilots training. So it's 24 weeks of training, however you want to divvy that up between the 3 pilots or 3 possible pilots.
Yeah. I'm sorry, that's not transferable, is it?
Not between accounts.
Yeah.
But like, say you have three pilots on an account, A, B, and C. You could train each one for 8 weeks, or you could train one for 12 weeks and the other 2 for 6 weeks each. It doesn't matter what pilots you train on the account. You can train 2 at a time for 3 months. So you could do 2 characters for 3 months each and not train the other one at all, or any combination of what, but you have 2 character training slots for 3 months.
That's a key point. I think like it can be really valuable. Like if you divide it up, you can spend 6 weeks getting a fairly decent PI character going, or some industry slots, research, or you can just go 6 months and 6 months, and you can have a PvE focused character or a PvP focused character, an extra scouting alt or something. It's very powerful. It's a great deal. I love it.
Okay.
You can make a reaction pilot pretty easy too.
A reactions pilot, you mean?
Correct. Yeah, a reaction pilot to do reactions for the new industry.
Yeah.
Instead of making a production pilot, you can make a reaction pilot
to build the subcomponents of the new, I call it ingredients, that you're going to need for your ships.
Correct.
Good idea.
So there's a question in the chat. It asks, does the MCT, the multiple character training certificate, start when your Omega starts? So right now, let's say if you have your Omega ends, let's say on July 1st, what's going to happen is going to add 3 months to that. So after July 1st, it's going to be another 12 weeks after that. But the multiple character training certificate will come in right away.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you have a month left on your year subscription, and you do the 3-month MCT now, the Omega part just adds 3 months to whenever your Omega time is up right now. But the MCT starts immediately. As soon as you pay for it, you can log in and start multiple character training immediately. And you can't pause that. So no matter what happens, it starts the second that you pay for it, and it goes for 90 days, and then it's done.
Yeah, unless you pause it on one character to turn it on another character, and it is not transferable, right? It's not like the token you can buy from the store. It is, you swipe your credit card and it begins on that account immediately, and it shows up on your
Right.
shows up
All
under
right.
pilot services
In your character sheet.
Yeah,
Correct.
if you
In your character sheet. Yep.
Okay. So another thing that has happened recently is there has been a new, I don't know if it's new, but it is new to some players, of some kind of offer that will appear to new players, I believe, when they die and lose their stuff. And this pops up. It doesn't actually pop up. You have to pop it up. So you have to voluntarily click on it, and then this will pop up, and the offer will say, have you lost your ship? No problem. Here is how you can basically make yourself whole. And that is buy some Plex, recover recover your loss and get revenge. 110 Plex to exchange for millions of ISK. Spend ISK on ships, weapons, and more. Come back stronger and better. So basically they're saying, did you just die? Why don't you buy some Plex, turn that into money and equipment, and get your revenge. That's basically what it is. So it's a little buying offer when you get destroyed. Now, what do you guys think of it? Because the players have seemed to have gone very sour on this, at least in the Reddit forum. What do you guys think?
Well, I can't. This has consumed the past 4 or 5 days of my life, and I can't talk about too much of it. But on a personal level, I am not a fan of this because it basically says, hey, don't worry about the game. If you lose anything, just break out your credit card and you can fix it. Those games on iOS, like what was one, Raid Shadow Legends, I played that for about 12 hours total. And I got tired of that just constantly bombarding me for money. And I just pushed the little thing down until it started blinking and hit the X, and it was gone, never to come back. And I don't want Eve to turn into that. I understand that they need to get new players to understand what Plex is, the legal aspect of Plex. And my suggestion was to roll that into the tutorial at the beginning. Give a pilot a couple Plex, let them go to somewhere and sell them, see that they get ISK in their wallet, point out the little buy Plex button down in the vault. They know where the vault is now, and make the tutorial go buy a ship with the Plex or with the ISK they got from the Plex that they just got. So you're not making Plex out of thin air there. Well, you kind of are, but it's just a couple.
It's like
they're
titanium.
required to, right? But they're required to turn it right back in, and that would introduce them without bombarding them with a message, and a message with a pretty serious overtone to it. I think that's what most of the player, but at least the people that have talked to me, I think that's what they're mostly upset about is the tone of the message, not necessarily that they're trying to deny CCP the chance to make money so they can continue to develop the game. It's just more of the message or the tone of the message.
Abby?
I was going to let Shen go first because
okay.
You
want to anchor? Yeah, okay, Shen, go ahead.
I would say there's absolutely no problem with them marketing stuff, but this is just a wrong message, I think. In general, like you can sell Plex to new pros, that's not a problem, just like Ken said. But the message that it sends out with the mentality that it shows to new player is not really, at least the one that I think this game's about.
So same thing that Kenneth was saying. All right, so you don't like the precedent that it sets.
Yeah.
And Abby?
Okay, so first of all, I think Ken made a really good point, and I think Shen kind of seconded that. And a lot of the criticism is quite valid, but I mean some of the tone around it is a little bit off. I think this is one of these. I don't know if you know, if you create a brand new account right now, right, no ties to any email that has an account, you get a special offer for the first like 7 days. You can get I forget exactly, so please don't hold me to this, but it's something like you can get like a month Omega and a little destroyer pack for like 10 monies or whatever, right? It's a fairly, I'm not currency, right?
Yeah.
Dollars or euros, pounds.
Sure. Yeah, I like that.
But it's a nice little deal. And it's a really good way to take an alpha and give them a taste of Omega, right? Whatever this little pack is, I forget, but brand new account, we'll give it to you. It's great. This seems like one of these things where if you have a brand new account and an account that hasn't had any ties and you get a loss, you probably get this pop up, right? I think that's where it's coming from because I haven't seen it on any losses, and I've had a lot of losses recently. Um, it's a fairly decent deal in terms of cost to like Plex and money. It's 250 million. Now, obviously, there was a lot of jokes like, haha, the £5 of Plex won't get me my super. But you know, for a new bro, 250 million, that's a lot of money. That's going to replace a lot of lost ships. But I totally agree. I think Ken made a great point there. If we can take Plex and introduce people to Plex in tutorials or missions or something, I love that idea. I don't like this. Hey, you lost a ship. Give us 5 money and buy some Plex and then sell the Plex. There you go. I mean, if you were that new, you might not even know what to do with them, where to take them to the market, how to sell them. What is this Plex? Now I have to go spend an hour watching a YouTube video, probably talking to stations, about it and explaining it to me. But my biggest issue is this does nothing for retention. And I was saying this earlier to the lads. If you have a brand new character, a brand new account, no ties to anything, eventually, I don't know what triggers it, but something happens and an ISD will reach out to you. Whether you have been playing and going through the careers a certain amount of time, or I've had a loss on a brand new account and it's happened, but I've had ISDs reach out to me.
The
Talk.
ISD is the volunteer program for EVE Online, and it has like 4 different branches. But the branch that you're talking about are volunteers that help in the help channels. So they're official from CCP, but they're volunteers, and they do education and help in the channels, and they do this thing that you're describing.
Yes, yeah, they are everywhere. They are in the rookie help mostly, hanging out with Mike. Congratulations to Mike for the CSM win. Congratulations to our Kenneth here,
Yeah.
Kenneth Feld for CSM. But yeah, they hang out there. They hang out in the forums. But these guys actually take the time out and they private message you and they have a conversation with you. They ask you how you're getting on. Do you have any questions? Is there anything they can do to help you? I had a loss and I had someone explain the loss to me, like, did you know you were in low sec? And I was like, yeah, look, and I came clean with him and I said to him, look, I'm actually, I know Eve, I play Eve. Don't waste your time explaining to me. Go talk to someone else and explain someone else who might actually be new and help them. Thank you so much. But these guys, not alone do they talk to you, often at the end of it, they will give you a gift pack. And you get this little gift back. It's like these little boxes, and you open it up, and inside might be a frigate or a destroyer, some guns, some modules, some fireworks, or something cute. And I think those moments, those personal teaching moments, are the retention moments that really help retain people. And that if CCP took the 5 monies they earned from this and they invested it back into the ISD program, they would probably see a tenfold increase in the amount of people they retain. Often CCP talks about how people having a meaningful loss helps keep them in the game. I don't agree with that. I think you can have a meaningful loss, lose everything, and you'll run away again. Having a loss or a meaningful loss that's explained to you, how you can improve, how you can do better, what you did wrong, that is the kind of stuff we need to help retain people in the game and teach them and make the game better. And I'm sorry for going off on a tangent there for 5 minutes. I just think while this is a bad step by the marketing department, I think they should really take this as a learning point. Listen to the community. The community is kind of annoyed at the quote unquote money grabbing, but it's the tone, and this is not helping people. Kenneth had a great example to help people.
It feels a little casino-ish, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It just feels like a pay-to-win money thingy, while it should be about helping people. And if it really is about helping people, actually talk to them, actually help them. It's the way you retain people. When I was a long time ago, when I was new to this game, people talked to me, people explained things to me, and that's what kept me around. Like the first low sec pirates that murdered me and war decked our high sec corp and basically drove people to almost want to quit the game, then took the time to explain to us how to fight them and how to kill them and what we should have done. And when the war was over, they were like, don't dock up, like come out and fight.
Well, speaking of murderous pirates, we are joined by one Murray Rothbardo from Rote Capel. How's it going, Murray? All right, say that again. You got clipped.
How are you?
Good. We're going to talk to Murray a little bit later about Dryglavian space and take a different angle at it. But I brought you in a little bit early, Murray, in case you had any thoughts on this pop-up that has come up for new players to buy let's just call it $5 or euros worth of Plex. They do something like this on EverQuest and EverQuest 2, but it's a little newer to EVE Online, even though there was something like this, just a little bit different. What's your view on this? What's your take?
I don't interact a whole lot with new players in my current setup. I kind of interact with them tangentially because I still have a lot of good friends in the newer player groups that I worked with when I first started playing the game. I just don't really understand what they think that accomplishes. Like, I guess maybe they get catch some whales a little earlier or something. But to me, the money that they're going to get out of people, particularly long term, is going to come from subscriptions. And so whatever effort they want to put in should be really focused on just getting people hooked on the game so that they subscribe for a long time. And once they're there, eventually a lot of people will buy Plex because they're lazy and they won't, want to pay ISK to replace a ship. But to me, especially the people I know that buy a lot of Plex, they don't buy it because they lost something. They buy it because they want something.
So they're moving forward, not recovering a deficit.
It's not like, oh, I lost my Black Ops, I'm going to buy Plex to get a new one. It was like, oh, I really want a carrier or something, and I'm going to throw down some Plex to get it.
All right, cool. All right, well, thanks for that. Again, there seems to be a lack of information here. If this is a new player buying the Plex, you don't immediately know what to do with it. I think this is the point that, not just the point of buying to recover your losses that was not a good fit for the game, as Kenneth was explaining, but Kenneth also explained you need to have this in context. Like, what do you do with this Plex? Now I got Plex, what do I do? Buy some skins? Is that the ship? You might buy a skin and think that you actually bought the ship. Who knows? So they needed to create a tutorial that walks them through how to use Plex and make that part of the game. And like Tritanium, inside that rookie ship that you used to get, it's no longer a rookie ship. It's called, what's it called? I keep calling it, Corvette. I keep calling it Corellia for some Star Wars reason. But the Corvette, right, which used to be called a rookie ship, always has Tritanium in there. It's basically worthless, but at least there's something in your hold so you can understand the concept of holding an item. And so I think you would do the same thing with Plex, and that's what he was saying. All right, thank you guys for the hype train stuff. I wish I knew what that was, but all I know is it flashes a bunch of coloring things. So thank you very much for doing that and for subscribing to Talking in Stations. It would be great to get more subscriptions on the Twitch. Okay, so I don't really have a take on this, except I know it's upset a lot of people. I believe it's another taboo that's been crossed, that sort of talk from veteran players. Who knows if they're even players, because they're signaling a lot of this on Reddit, where a lot of ex-players are. So who knows where the real sentiment is. There is a cartoon that came out that was kind of funny that showed let's see if I can find it, but it was Hilmar basically saying, these zombies, I guess they're supposed to be Eve players, holding on to the door, and he's like, we'll distract them for 5 minutes. They have a 5-minute memory or something like that. I'll get to that cartoon here and bring it up so you guys can see it. If you haven't seen this, it's kind of funny. And here it is. So it just has zombies coming through the door with CCP workers, and Hilmar standing over them, and he says, we can't hold them. And the other guy says, they are still angry about Plex adverts, Plex advertising. Hilmar, their memory only lasts 2 days. Well, looks like we've got a new strain, which means this happens all the time, on our hands. Hold the line, boys. We're switching to Plan B. And Plan B is, in case of emergency, break glass. And it has something in there called emergency Hello Kitty skins. And so that's what they would use to distract them.
I actually, I fly with a fella that's like really new to the game. He's doing amazing, by the way. Shout out to him. I don't want to name him on stream. He just messaged me.
You'll kill him.
Yeah, I don't want to dox him, right? But he just messaged me and he said, I think if you want new players to get to buy Plex, they should go via the skill injector route. That's what I bought some Plex for, because ships can be lost, but the skill points stay with you.
Yeah.
And I haven't pushed him or anything, but and another friend of mine got some skill injectors that's new to the game as well, because he was like, I'm loving this game. I'm loving exploration. I want to get better. Bought a couple of Plex, bought some skill injectors, got his Tech 2 data and relic analyzers and his covert ops frigate, and he made a fortune. And I think Murray made a really good point. A lot of people I know as well don't actually buy Plex to replace something they lost. They buy something new. And that's a really good point.
Okay, let's move on. We got a few things to cover. The next thing is a small fight. Shen, you were describing this Army of Mango again. By the way, what's the status of Esoteria? You were in the process of reconquering it.
It's right now structure grinding more than anything else. We cleared all the iHubs, and TCU doesn't take much effort at all. It's just free. Basically.
Territorial claim unit. Yeah.
So there's a timer, hall timer for one of the Astro hosts from Farah, and we're expecting a SERP fleet from them, so they ended up coming in with Gilas and Tornadoes. It's kind of surprising. So we prepped SERPs to fight SERPs, but it didn't work out. So we ate some shit at the beginning, and then we quickly reshipped into Munings. And so during the time we reshipped, they just fall back and retreated, and that was a free kill for us, basically, free Astra house.
Well, all right.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was right.
100 and afterburner Gila, which is some surprise, but like it's not something that we see on a day-to-day normal basis. But yeah.
And yesterday we saw there was some fighting in 3 TAC D. It looked like, actually, interestingly, the Imperium outformed Pappy fleets, and I'm sure it was more or less for fun, but Headliner was the FC there, and that ended up being about a 60-30 ISK efficiency, and it was about, I think it was about 250 Pappy to about 600. That's a bit high. I think it might have been 450 Imperium. So kind of interesting, the ratio of combatants right now is a little underwater for Pappy. So I don't know if that's just because it wasn't a serious effort or if it was just they're having trouble putting numbers in fleets, not sure. All right. Next thing we want to do is go to we'll talk about a couple things, but we want to hit monthly economic report again. So let's do that. I need to grab the. What is your big takeaway, Kenneth, for the monthly economic report while I go and look for it? What have you seen on it this month of May?
Well, mainly you look at March, April, and May in the industry section. March is more indicative of just a typical month because it was before the dev blog, or the dev blog came out middle to end of March. So that's not going to affect March a whole lot. But then if you look at April, production was through the roof. And then if you look at May, it is definitely tempered significantly. And I'll just talk about two areas. One would be the Forge, which is where Jita is, and one would be Delve, which is where obviously Pappy and Goons are both building.
Okay.
If you look at March, the Forge was about 28, 29 trillion, somewhere around there, and Delve was about 9 trillion. Give or take a little bit. I'm kind of reading between the lines.
Yeah.
If you look at April, which includes the Panic building from the dev blog that came out.
Yeah. Tell us about what Panic building is so people know.
Well, it's just a dev blog came out that near the end of March that they were going to change the game significantly in April as far as industry goes. So building battleships and above and faction ships and a few other things were going to be significantly more complicated, be significantly more expensive, and be significantly longer to gather the resources and stuff. So all the leftover minerals and stuff that people had or people's stockpiles, it was much more beneficial to people to burn those minerals and build the ships now. Try and anticipate what you're going to need for the future. And that was everything from battleships and above. So the production value spiked in the Forge to a little over 30 trillion. So about a 2 trillion-ish spike. The spike in Delve spiked up to about 16 billion. And that was up from about 9.5 or about 9 billion. So that was trillion. So that was a 7 trillion-ish spike in Delve in building.
Jeez. Huge.
Now you roll back to May. Now, and I don't know how they calculate this, but in May it was a little less than 13 trillion in Delve and about a little over 20 trillion in the Forge. So the Forge dropped by roughly 10 trillion-ish and Delve dropped by about 3 trillion. But in Delve especially, if people have supers or carriers in build, I don't know if all the ISK gets accounted for when you push the button, or if it rolls into like when it's delivered, or how that works. Because just because you put the builds in April, they could easily, the majority, because it was like April 24th or 28th, I think was the patch. So the majority of the build for a Super or Titan could be in May. And if they just did it straight by build time, then that could count for May. But either way, 10 trillion ISK loss in production in Jita or the Forge and 3 trillion in Delve is a significant drop. And it's down across the board. If you look at like the next 5 indices, they're all, down by 30 or 40% as well.
Okay, let's see if I'm looking.
And they all spiked pretty good when the dev blog came out as well. So they spiked, then they dropped back down, and some of them are slightly above what it was in March, which is why I'm not sure how they're accounting for that. All the high sec areas are back down below, but the null sec areas seem to hang out above. So that's why I'm not sure how they're accounting for those builds exactly.
All right. Well, you're an industrialist. We had a giant industrial patch that came through a few months ago. What are the effects that you're seeing? Are they reflected in these graphs? Is there a story yet that's unfolded?
A couple themes have come out. The amount of ice being used for all the reactions to build. The ice is used for fuel blocks. Fuel blocks are used in the reactions, and then the one area that's under heavy pressure right now is Delve in that area, which is Amar fuel blocks, or helium isotopes. So those are kind of spiking a little bit, but they're not used too much in the new. I think it's hydrogen and oxygen maybe that are used in the new reactions more heavily. But either way, isotopes in general are spiking, and that's a lot of that's due to all the new reactions that are occurring. And then that's kind of like a secondary effect that I've seen. There is a ton more gas on the market in JITA. So people are mining gas. They are putting it on the market in JITA. So that's good to see. I tried to price out a Revenant for someone the other day. They wanted to build a Revenant, and there was enough gas in JITA. There was enough of everything in JITA to build a Revenant.
Can you tell us what the production cost would have been?
If you go by like the calculators, it was like 102 billion, somewhere around there.
Oh.
But if you did the multi-buy and bought up till you get to the higher value items, it was like 138, I think, billion, somewhere around there. That's if you just went and bought everything now. If you did the buy orders and that kind of stuff, you could keep it right around 100, somewhere in that neighborhood. And that doesn't include any install costs or anything like that. That was just to buy the raw materials.
Okay. For those that don't know, the Revenant is a faction supercarrier from Sansha. And it was something that was released with incursions way back. And it was always a coveted prize because it didn't always drop. And when you built it, it kind of used to be worth about 100 million, the same as a Titan, right? And I think now it's back up to 100, if not 130, depending on how you buy your materials, or more, because you have to pay the costs for building it.
Right, and the BPC. It was always a 0-0 super, so it was slightly more than buying a super as far as building it. All the cost was in the BPC, which came from the low-sec incursions. Well, you still have to buy the BPC, but now, due to it being faction, it requires even more special materials than a regular super, in addition to being a 0-0 super. So its cost is significantly more than a regular super is now, in addition to having to buy the BPC.
Now, the ship itself has a different model than any other mothership, so I wasn't sure what the build costs were associated with. Are they associated with like the Galente Nix, or are they all about the same?
It's about the same. It's not, if I remember correctly, it's not quite as many drone bays as a Nix, but it has, I think, more armor plates.
So it balances out.
Yeah, it's just different across the board, but it's a 0-0. So there's no ME on the BPC when you get it. So there's no reduction to the cost or anything like that. But much like the faction ships, even the subcaps that require these special materials, you take what a normal super carrier in the game now requires in the new materials, and a faction one, the Revenant and the what's the Galente one? Anyway, both of those require significantly more. The Vendetta. Both of those require significantly more materials than a regular super, just like a faction cruiser would require many more materials than just a regular cruiser.
On that note, every faction capital from the Serpentis line requires significant more material to begin with.
Yeah.
So for those ships, part of the cost is the BPC, but a huge chunk of the cost is the material.
Well, that's just how CCP designed them. Anything where the BPC is really easy to get, like for the Vanquisher and the crap you just said, Vendetta and those ships, the BPC is extremely easy to get. So the ship build is horrendous. Whereas the ships like the Revenant, the Komodo, the Moloch, the Cayman, the Chemosh, all those ships where the BPC is quite rare, the materials, raw materials required for that blueprint aren't that much more, or weren't that much more than a regular ship of that class. But now with the patch, it's the same, but then it adds in all that new faction material stuff too. So it's they're significantly more, but nowhere near what a Vanquisher or a Vendetta is.
Yeah. And again, that's just the way they designed those ships. They're a little bit special.
And also, just
Yeah, go ahead.
special thing about the what's called the Sasha, the
Sand ship?
Revenant?
Revenant. Yeah, the Revenant.
Oh.
It has enough low slot and enough mid slot to be either shield tank or armor tank. So it's very versatile in that way, where it can follow any sort of fleet. And since it has really high amount of low slot, you can put a lot of power diagnosis system in, which means that it has a huge amount of EHP compared to other, relatively speaking, compared to, let's say, a Nix or a Hell.
Yeah, especially after the rebalance of the PDS, where faction gives more shield too.
It's interesting you touched on the ice, because we know that they changed the mechanics around the spawn of ice bolts as well. So, before, once you mined out the ice, it was a 4-hour timer, and it would like respawn immediately. Now there's either a delay, and it might not respawn. It might respawn in like a different system. So obviously they, as they were looking at scarcity and the mineral stockpiles, they obviously looked at the ice stockpile, and they have reduced the consistent high availability of ice. And I think maybe a combination of the reaction changes, but also the ice mining changes could have helped driven up the price as well.
All right. We unfortunately have to wrap up sooner than expected, so we're going to have to postpone Murray to next week. Sorry about that, Murray. I know you stayed up late. Kenneth, is there anything else on the MER that you wanted to point out? We have about 5 minutes left.
No, that was the main thing that caught my eye, but obviously that's what I look at more than a lot of the other stuff. The ISK velocity is down. That kind of concerns me, but that's kind of in line with the production and everything else too. So it's not, I'm not like panicking yet, but I don't like it.
Yeah. Velocity slowing down. Somebody said the taxes really hurt the velocity of ISK. It's right here. That there was a raising of taxes, and that was one of the things that kind of made it start going down. I don't know what that person was referring to. I know there's been taxes being raised a couple times, but maybe that was something that was happening here in April or something, because that's when the slide begins. This is well before. This would be a function of scarcity then, because this is before the production announcement, isn't it? I'm looking at the wrong slide. There it is. Yeah, I don't know. It's been kind of flat. It's just tanking right now, real bad.
Correct. Yeah, if you look at April and May, April it slid a little bit, which you kind of expect, but for May it's just freaking off a cliff.
Yeah, that thing is tanking. All right. So why don't you like that, and what should we be worried about?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I've already spoke to people about that, so I can't really. Yeah, my views are tainted already. Sorry.
Okay, don't worry about it. All right. Well, thanks very much, Kenneth, for hanging out with us, and Abby and Shen, thank you guys for showing up today. And Murray, sorry about that. We'll do a session on Triglavian, the other side of the story, that should reflect the people that we had on earlier. This will be the other side of that story. And the people that we had on earlier were the Triglavian guys that self-sacrificed their structures. They didn't want to play the timer game anymore. So this will be the other side of that with Rote Capel and a few other guests. But that's all that time we have for today. So we'll be back this weekend for the weekend report. And until then, we will see you next time.